Marvel's Avengers provides our favorite superhero team with an entirely original story for fans to enjoy. We get to see the classic characters that everyone is used to seeing by now: Iron Man, the Hulk, Black Widow, Captain America, Jarvis, and more, as well as a whole slew of new faces to be added to the team, such as Ms. Marvel Kamala Khan. After launch, Square Enix plans to add more heroes as DLC to keep the game fresh, with the two already announced being Spider-Man as a PlayStation exclusive and Hawkeye. Since being announced in January of 2017, this game has been greatly anticipated by gamers and comic fans alike. And now, the general public finally has the chance to exercise their thumbsticks with the pre-order beta that went live last weekend. The beta consists of the A-Day event, several scenes between Kamala and Bruce, exploring the damaged Chimera, as well as a pretty extensive look into the new War Table and Harm Room. In this video, I'm going to talk about what I thought of this brief look into the newest corner of the Marvel Universe, what I think of the gameplay, the story, the upgrades and cosmetic systems, the cast, and what I hope to see from the final product. I played through the entire beta and recorded the whole experience, so if you want to see more videos like this, or going more in depth into specific parts of the beta, leave a comment and let me know. Also, spoilers, I guess. This is just a beta, so there's not that much to spoil, but if you would like to experience it for yourself, this is your chance to turn off the video and come back later. Now let's jump right in. To start it off, let's talk about the gameplay itself. The combat is easy to pick up and is pretty much what you'd expect from a superhero game. I played on PlayStation, so you have jump on X, light attack on square, heavy attack on triangle, and dodge on circle. And I'm sure it would translate to A, X, Y, and B respectively for Xbox. I'm not sure about the PC controls, but I'd assume they're not too difficult to pick up. Each character also has a ranged attack. There's also a pretty smooth block, dodge, parry system, with a slow time effect when you execute a perfect dodge. There are also parkour traversal sections, as well as quick time events and battles. Another mechanic for the combat that is shown later in the beta, which we will get to, is when you are damaged too much, you will go down and need to be revived. From what I can tell, to revive a teammate, all you have to do is stand next to the down player in the indicated zone and they will be revived. The beta throws you right into the action as it starts right in the middle of the A-Day event. The Golden Gate Bridge and the brand new Avengers helicarrier, the Chimera, has been sabotaged during a public celebration in San Francisco, and it is up to our heroes to stop the carrier from falling out of the sky and save the civilians on it, as well as those in the surrounding area, as the crash would cause some serious damage. From the beginning, we see that the Avengers are on good terms with the law enforcement, showing the player that the public is happy to have the Avengers around and collaborating with the local police. We get to play as each of the headlining Avengers in this section, learning each of their individual abilities as well as the controls for how to use them. Each hero has their own unique hero abilities on top of their regular combat. These feel natural for all the characters and are pretty fun to use. Some of the heroes, Thor and Iron Man for instance, have the ability to fly, which provides an opportunity for a different approach to combat situations. At the end of this sequence, we learn that the mastermind behind the sabotage is presumably the villain Taskmaster. You get to fight him as Black Widow in the first boss fight of the demo. This is pretty much the end of the tutorial portion, as going forward, there aren't many new mechanics to learn when it comes to combat, aside from learning Kamala's specific abilities when you eventually play as her. Overall, I feel the combat system this game employs is very well done. It's exactly what you would expect it to be, so it's very easy to pick up. It flows well with the combos, and the recharge on the hero abilities doesn't feel too long to where you feel like you're barely using them. It feels very balanced for every character, except for the Hulk, I feel. The Hulk's regular combat feels a little weak. I understand why they designed it like that. It needs to be balanced with the other characters or everyone would just run the Hulk all the time. But I feel like for his character, he should do a bit more damage. I don't think the big mean green has the presence of mind to pull his punches, so it's definitely a balancing issue. Also, side note, the combat feels extremely similar to the combat in Spider-Man PS4. This is by no means a bad thing. I would actually argue that it's a very good thing, and feels a little bit intentional, even down to the finishing moves being mapped to the same button combos as Spider-Man, that being triangle and circle. Next, I want to touch on the War Table and War Zones. Aside from the unfortunate naming similarities with Call of Duty's Warzone, although I think Avengers had this name picked first, as this game has been in development since at least 2016, and then COD used it, and they were already too far along to change it. This is where you can select sort of strike missions for the heroes to go on between campaign events to level up your characters. Think of the missions the Avengers were going on at the beginning of Age of Ultron, only the bad guys they are going against are AIM and not Hydra. That's essentially what the war zones are. In the beta, you are given the chance to go on 9 of these missions with varying difficulties and level up your heroes. Any character can go on these missions, even the ones you don't have, or at least that's how it is in the beta, as you get to play as Iron Man and Black Widow even though in the story they are still in hiding or missing or wherever they happen to be. You are given a difficulty rating on a mission, and if one of your characters is not a high enough level, you cannot play as them on this mission, although you can still select them as a companion. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but this is a beta, so things are subject to change. After a while, these do tend to get a bit repetitive as they use the same handful of objectives for each mission, but given that they are mostly optional to the story, it shouldn't be a huge problem. By and large, the Warzone sections do feel like a pretty fitting spiritual successor to the Ultimate Alliance games. Picking your team of 4 characters to go on a mission in this fashion is very reminiscent of those old games that have paved the way for superhero games today. It's a nice sort of callback to their roots. A few side notes about the Warzones: when your characters are at lower levels, fighting against the Adaptoids sucks a lot. There is a character named Theo that can apparently teleport, and on missions where you have to save other SHIELD operatives or civilians, he teleports in, grabs them, and teleports out. While in battle, in war zones, and during campaign missions, the heroes you have with you will chat and banter in your earpiece, which brings some life and levity to the fights. The sister system to the Warzones is the Holographic Augmented Reality Machine, or the HARM Room. According to Jarvis, this is where the Avengers trained. In this room, you get to play as any hero you like, much like the Warzones, although again, this may only be a function in the beta, so that we can play as more characters. This is a wave-based combat challenge that does, in fact, let you train and hone your skills with a certain hero. There are 10 rounds of increasing difficulty, and you must beat all of them to complete the room. The room is the same every time. The only thing that changes are the cannon fodder bad guys and the heroes you choose to bring with you. I found this one to be more fun than the Warzones, but I did like the Warzones better because they provided a kind of nuanced insight to some of the narrative that isn't part of the main campaign. Since it's all in augmented reality, I think there should be a way to customize your own HARM room to your liking. It is the same nondescript room every time, so it would be nice to put your own little flair on it. Similarly to how you unlock alternate suits for your heroes through challenges, which we will touch on later, I feel you should unlock areas for you to project into the HARM room. We don't know much about the story. So far, all we know is that due to the attack on A-Day, the Avengers are definitely not in the good graces of the public anymore and have disbanded. But now that AIM is taking control of everything and there is an outbreak of the Inhuman disease, it is our job to reassemble the Avengers. Though we know so little, we can speculate and theorize. At the very beginning of the beta, we see Captain America presumably die on the Chimera when it explodes and sinks into the river, and we learn that Taskmaster is behind it. Something I do want to address as a possibility is that Taskmaster intended to capture Captain America, not kill him. It is in his nature to study his enemies and know their behavior inside out. Somehow, he knew that Cap would be the one to stay on the Chimera when it went down. The agency sends to get him call him the Shepherd, which is never addressed again in the beta. In the fight with Black Widow, he confesses that he is only distracting her and that he is after something much more valuable. I am of the opinion that Cap is not really dead, but being held captive by Taskmaster. Why would they kill off the character that is arguably the most important? He is the first Avenger, the captain of the team, and not to mention he is front and center on the box art. Something is going on there. I don't know. After all, it's just a theory. A game theory! It is apparent that this is not the first time Taskmaster has been involved with the Avengers, as throughout their fight, Widow talks to him and about him as if they had encountered him already. We learn that he was a former SHIELD agent and had a history with Nat. You end the fight by leaving him trapped under some rubble, and you watch as the Terrigen reactor in the Chimera explodes and wreaks massive havoc on the surrounding area. The gas emitted from the Chimera as a result of the attack is what causes the Inhuman disease. From there, the story portions we get to play through show us Bruce Banner and Kamala Khan looking for where Tony might be hiding at an old Avengers hideout called Olympia. They arrive and they are attacked by AIM synthoids, the robots that were presumably built to help citizens. After beating the robots, we discover that the area has been taken over by AIM, but the secret lab still exists under the facility. It is there that we find the hard drive that contains Jarvis, and the Hulk fights Abomination. From there, we take Jarvis back to the Chimera, and after going to another secret Avengers base, fit him with a neural uplink that will allow him to connect to the Avengers and SHIELD servers again. He goes on to show us the HARM room, and from there we start going to Warzone missions, and that is the extent of the beta. That's all we know of the story, and we only have to wait about another month before the full release of the game, so all the speculation has to happen now. Leave a comment if you have a thought about what the story might consist of, or for what you hope the story to be. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about it. Now let's talk cosmetics, upgrades, and collectibles. Throughout the game, there are chests with gear and materials in them that the player can find and open. These provide armor pieces, artifacts, and materials that help you upgrade your character. You can also find comic books for you to view in the collectibles menu. I found this system pretty enjoyable. Happening across these crates while on missions is a nice way to break up the action and give more purpose to traversal and exploration. Though, holding square to open these crates doesn't always work the smoothest. Sometimes when I try to open a crate, I end up doing a charged attack from holding down the button. Maybe just change the activation to a different button so this doesn't happen? I hope that somewhere in the game there is an open world section that we can explore that would provide more subtle story story details that only those willing to search for them can find. There's also alternate outfits to choose from. How we unlock them is still uncertain, as this feature was not accessible in the beta. It will be present in the full game, however. It doesn't seem like the character upgrades affect the look of the character, just the stats. So far, the only way to change the outfits is through the alternate suits. I sincerely hope the suits they choose for the alternates are cool and make us want to grind to unlock them, and that they are fully interactable with cutscenes and all. Another bit of cosmetic content is the emotes. I assume in the same boat as the suits, these will be unlocked by completing challenges. On to the cast. For the main characters, you have Captain America, played by Jeff Shine, Iron Man, played by Nolan North, the Hulk, split between Troy Baker and Darren DePaul, Travis Willingham as Thor, Laura Bailey as Black Widow, and Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, played by Sandra Saad. So a pretty star-studded cast. Troy, Nolan, and Laura are always a win though. All of these incredible actors have more than enough talent to really make this game something special. And from what little we've seen of them as these beloved characters, they seem to be doing a pretty good job already. It's not easy to step into a role that holds this much weight, but this crew seems up to the challenge. These guys have been making games for years, so it's difficult to see them not excelling in roles so cemented as these. There is, of course, a much larger cast, but until the full game comes out, it'll be hard to nail down every role. Moving forward to what I want to come from the narrative that this game presents. This is all personal opinion, so if you disagree, that's perfectly okay. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I am genuinely interested to interact with other excited fans. I hope this game provides the team with a large enough challenge to justify making this game last several years, with all the planned updates and new character additions. I hope the DLCs aren't just tying up loose ends that are only loosely connected to the main campaign. The prominent story should definitely have a fitting conclusion. That's not what I'm saying. I guess what I hope happens is a compelling enough overarching threat that would have us coming back, like Thanos over the Avengers films. The day was always saved at the end of the movie, but there was something bigger tying everything together. It would be cool if the main game had its own story that gets resolved, and the story that plays out over the updates is something separate. Maybe a multiverse thing, since some heroes are going to be introduced presumably after the main conflict is resolved, and some are only available to PS4, like Spider-Man. I trust the campaign to be a compelling and well-written story. With everyone that has worked on it, it's hard to believe that it won't exceed expectations. What I'm more concerned about is the post-launch additions. I hope that the story beats and villains involved are really original like they claim, and not some of the same beats we've seen before. As I'm writing this, a possible explanation for the introduction of new characters post-launch could be the Secret Wars. I know it's kind of a long shot, but it's not been covered very much in popular media, which makes it prime substance to touch on here. Just a theory though. Again! That's everything the beta had to offer, but if you want to see me go more in depth about it, leave a comment and let me know. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you want to. Look forward to more videos about Marvel's Avengers when it releases on September 4th. And I'll see you guys in the next one.